So here we go. The Democrats doing the blame game again. Instead of blaming Democrats for Democrat electoral losses, they blame everybody else. Why? Because they're horrible, shitty, corporate enemies of the people. Here's one of them. Here's Max Berger. Nice blue check, huh? Solidarity for all. No, it's not. No, you don't mean that. He doesn't mean solidarity. Certainly, no, he doesn't. Currently, more perfectus. Previously, Justice Dems and Elizabeth Warren. He, him. Elizabeth Warren. Wow, that's a great resume. He's probably taken over 1,000 selfies with that kind of resume. Am I right? So this is what a shit lib like him says, right? An Elizabeth Warren supporter who actually stayed in the race just to make sure Bernie Sanders couldn't win. Imagine how differently the last 20 years would have gone if Ralph Nader hadn't campaigned in swing states during the 2000 presidential election. I can think of 300,000 other reasons we got George Bush, because that's how many Democrats voted for George Bush in Florida. 300,000 registered Democrats voted for George Bush in Florida. And by the way, Max Berger, the Supreme Court literally threw that election, and the Democrats let them do it. I guess the Democrats never fight because their donors tell them not to. So what happened was the New York Times did every recount they ever did of the Florida showed that Al Gore won. So that means the Supreme Court literally threw the election and no one gave a shit. Al Gore didn't fight it. Nobody fought it. And 300,000 Democrats voted for George Bush in Florida. That's your real problem. Of course they don't want to talk about it. Of course this guy doesn't want to talk about that, of course. A bunch of Democrats voted Republican in Florida. That's how we got George Bush. A bunch of Democrats, 300,000 of them, voted Republican in Florida. But I guess since Max worked for Elizabeth Warren, he's got a soft spot for Republicans. From a purely consequentialist perspective, is Nader's decision to run a spoiler campaign in 2000 the single most disastrous decision any individual has made in the past quarter century? Hard to think of anything that tops it. Oh, I don't know. How about a certain somebody sticking around until just after Super Tuesday comes to mind? These fucking people. Ross Barkin says, imagine how different the last 20 years would have gone if Al Gore were a better candidate and Democrats didn't enable George W. Bush at every turn, voting for Iraq, voting for Afghanistan, voting for the Patriot Act, funding every generation-ruining horror. The Democrats went along with all of it, and they didn't prosecute him for being a war criminal. Why? Because Nancy Pelosi is complicit in war crimes. And if she prosecuted George Bush, she would have to prosecute herself. Do you understand what's wrong with the Democratic? Yeah. Oh, boy. If only the Democrats could get complete control of government, then we could show everybody how good we are. Oh, shit, it happened right after George Bush. Barack Obama had the Democrats had the House of Representatives. They had a filibuster-proof Senate, and Barack Obama was in the White House. And guess what that gave us? Trump 8 years later. Why is that, Jimmy? Because Barack Obama legislated like George Bush and Dick Cheney. That's why. He dropped more bombs than George Bush and Dick Cheney. He invaded more countries than George Bush and Dick Cheney. Took us from 2 wars to 7. He had a torture program. He tortured Chelsea Manning, Barack Obama. He gassed immigrants at the border. You know, Barack Obama deported more Hispanics than all the presidents combined since 1890 and more than Donald Trump in his first term. Did you know that? Yes. That's why you get shitty electoral legislative politics. Both parties locked Ralph Nader out of any scintilla of power. And then both parties' leaders helped their donors create endless wars and the financial pillage of the working class. Blaming Nader for that pillage is absurd, pathetic, and willfully, maliciously dishonest. Guess who's doing that, David? Fucking Democrats. Fucking Democrats. That's who's doing it. The party that you tell people to vote for all the time. Boy, David Stroh is good, though. He really lays it out. He really lays it out, huh? Every time Democrats lose an election, they immediately compile a long list of culprits and villains to blame that includes pretty much everyone they can think of except their own party leaders. The losing candidates and the consultants, their rotted ideology, and themselves. Everybody except them. Except their own party leaders, their losing candidates and consultants, their rotted ideology, and themselves. Wow. Only electing Democrats could have stopped this, says the Democrats who were elected to stop this. The Democrats have complete control of government right now. And you're still upset at Susan Sarandon. Did Susan Sarandon stop the Democrats from having complete control of government? No, they have complete control of government. Why don't they do anything for you? Because they don't give a shit about you. Because Joe Biden doesn't work for you. Joe Biden works for Goldman Sachs, Raytheon, and Exxon, and Google. That's why. And so when AOC and the squad goes along with Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden, they're going along with Goldman Sachs, Raytheon, Exxon, and Google. So voting for them inside the Democratic Party is a vote for fucking Wall Street, the military-industrial complex, big pharma, and oil companies. That's a fact. And it would be so much better off if we didn't have people who give lip service to progressive ideas inside the Democratic Party because they'll never fight for them or cross their leadership to get them. So it gives people the false impression that there's somebody fighting for them inside the Democratic Party when there isn't. There's someone in the Democratic Party giving lip service to you and then fucking you over. Solidarity for all. Justice Dems. Elizabeth Warren. Justice. Guess what, though? I got something to tell you about the Justice Dems. Dark money boosted the Justice Democrats. They take dark money now. They have super PACs. And you see how they're legislating. The only time that they'll coordinate their vote is to make sure we get $2 billion more for police. They didn't defund the cops. They overfunded them. And they coordinated their votes to do it. But they'll never coordinate their votes to get you health care. They'll never coordinate their votes to get you a minimum wage or a living wage. They'll never coordinate their votes to get you student debt relief, to get a marijuana rescheduled. They'll never coordinate their votes to fight the power inside their own party, which is the same power that's inside the Republican Party. It's the donor class power. And it's not because they have Washington brain. It's because they're corrupt self-dealers who are dishonest pukes. Dark money boosted Justice Democrats in super PAC. Get this. Justice Democrats, who has notably backed members of the squad, recently changed their PAC to a carry committee, which essentially makes them a PAC, a super PAC hybrid with separate accounts. In the past, Justice Democrats have been very critical of candidates receiving billionaire dark money or super PAC support. Now it seems they've decided to change their views and accept all three themselves. According to the group's latest FEC filings, 3 dark money-funded groups and PACs donated $260,000 to the Justice Democrats. This election cycle, they've accepted $225 from Ways to Win and $50,000 from Democracy Alliance Billionaire Slush Fund 1630 Fund, a dark money venture ran and funded by some of the wealthiest individuals and nonprofits in the country. Way to Win is a 501c4 dark money venture co-founded by Leah Hunt Hendricks, granddaughter of Texas oil tycoon H.L. Hunt. They're taking oil money. According to their most recent tax filings, some of the way to win $7 million can be traced to 5-figure grants from Groundswell Fund, Tide Center, and the Goldman Sachs Foundation. But the vast majority is anonymous and dark. Well, when you've got someone like Goldman Sachs on the list, I don't see how there's anything to worry about. We don't know much about who funds Organize for Justice Democrats, dark money arm. Their footprint is nearly non-existent, but they received $250,000 from George Soros. There you go. This Justice Dem spinoff PAC aimed at running negative ads against Senators Manchin and Sinema raised $101,000 from February through June. Where'd that money go? Well, they spent $14,000 on ads. Of the $101,000, they spent $14,000 on ads, all before May. Their co-founder then paid himself $37,500. They still have $33,000 in the bank because, payroll and stuff. Holy shit. That sounds like more fucking corruption. Did someone else we know would do that? Started a PAC, then paid themselves all the money that the PAC was taking in? That's a nice scam. That's a nice scam. That's a nice scam. The Justice Democrats want all of us to believe that the super PAC can be used for good. Get the F out of here, says Compton J. So there you go. There's the shit libs taking dark money, blaming truth tellers for their failure. The Jimmy Dore Show is coming to a city near you August 28th. We're in Las Vegas at the Plaza, and we just added another show in Portland. We're there in Portland on September 10th and 11th. October 3rd, we're at Harlow's in Sacramento. More dates being added. Go to jimmydoorecomedy.com for a link for all tickets. See you at a live show.